Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lab Talk from Elektor. This is number 21, so we're getting up there in numbers. And welcome to everyone around the world joining us in our live stream. And I'd like to welcome our Chief Engineer, Saad Imtiaz, coming to us again from Pakistan. Saad, how are you doing?
Hello, Brian. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. Suppose I should do the obligatory talk about the weather. It's winter here and I'm very hot. So if you hear air conditioning in the background, that's why. Well, let's get to our sponsor before we go on with today's event. EE News Europe. If you're looking for the latest electronics and engineering news, check out eenewseurope.com. It's an Elektor International media publication, so it's one of our sister publications. And it's a fully digital publication covering the global electronics market with specializations in analog, automotive, embedded, power, smart 2.0. Let's accept the cookies here. Wireless technologies. So go to eenewseurope.com, subscribe to its newsletters to stay informed about essential industry news, key events, and technical innovations. That's eenewseurope.com, as you see there in the URL bar at the top. Start. So we have quite a few new things to talk about. What have you been up to lately?
Well, most of my time has been used in the LoRa project I was doing. So it's actually a LoRa WAN sensor node, which is powered by a solar panel and some batteries. And it involves some 3D printing of the enclosure. It's currently outside in my lawn right now, telling me the soil moisture and a couple of other stuff as well.
Great. So you'll show us a bit about that later.
Of course, yes.
I'd like to say hello to Nicholas Tremaine from Cornwall in the UK and also to Ben Martins from the Netherlands. So in terms of new stuff, I mean, I've got a whole bunch of stuff to show. I'm going to be doing some unboxings later on in the month. And I don't like to unbox before I unbox, but you know, for you guys, I'll do it because you want to see the toys that we have. But I've already done the Raspberry Pi Pico 2, actually, the Pico 2. So this is a wave share robot that I've got, just to take you back to the Raspberry Pi Pico. It's running on a Raspberry Pi Pico. It's under there. This is just the Pico, not the Pico W, so there's no wireless functionality on this one, but it works. Turn it on, the wheels turn. It's running some program from the ultrasonic sensors, which I flashed into it with Thonny. And so that's the Raspberry Pi Pico. And now we have the Pico 2. Those nice colorful lights, they make my lens look like it needs a wipe there. Let's remove the Pico here. Okay, so we've got a Pico with headers. I didn't buy it with the headers. I soldered them in myself. So block my face so you can focus. I battle sometimes with the focus, but yeah, that's the original Raspberry Pi Pico. And then later on, they came out with the Raspberry Pi Pico W. And this one has the wireless module there. So you've got your Wi-Fi, and eventually they implemented a Bluetooth stack for it. And now recently they've launched the Raspberry Pi Pico 2, which I did cover on Elektor TV. If you go to YouTube, you'll find an unboxing video for the Pico 2. So a few differences with the Pico 2. They got new silicon. So while the Raspberry Pi Pico has the RP2040 chip here, again, excuse the focus if it's not immediate, the new one has the RP2350. So the differences between the two devices, well, firstly, between the devices is the Raspberry Pi Pico and the Raspberry Pi Pico 2. They have not released a Raspberry Pi Pico 2W yet with the wireless functionality, but you can bet that that's in the pipeline and will be out sooner rather than later. The boards themselves, if I look at the specs, the older Raspberry Pi Pico runs 133 megahertz, the system clock. It has 2 megabytes of flash and the 26 GPIOs that, of course, you're familiar with. The new one is 150 megahertz system clock the amount of flash has doubled to 4 megabytes. It has the same 26 GPIOs, 4 analog to digital converters, and it has an upgraded USB 1.1 host device interface. One thing that's made some people sad is that it is not USB-C. It is still micro USB. So there are pros and cons to that. Obviously, we would like it to be USB-C, but if you have any of these deployed in the wild and you want full compatibility, for example, this WaveShare robot works just as well with the Pico 2. And I have a couple more. So I'm going to be trying them out in various projects, including the WaveShare robot. The thing is, if you've already got the system set up and you've got something in the wild and you've got it plugged in and you've got a USB, a micro USB, well, then it makes sense to just stay compatible with the original. But I don't know, maybe the Raspberry Pi Pico 3 will come with a USB C interface, which is kind of becoming industry standard, even the Raspberry Pi 5 running on that. As for the silicon, let's have a look at the 2040 versus the 2350. The original Raspberry Pi Pico had the RP2040. Now, this is the first chip that Raspberry Pi made. It's their own silicon. It's got their logo on it, not running Broadcom or anything like that. And the original one was running a dual core ARM Cortex M0 CPU. Now, the Raspberry Pi Pico 2, it runs a dual Cortex M33, or another option, if you're into RISC-V, it's got a dual-core RISC-V Hazard 3, and this is software selectable. So when you're developing, whether it's you're going to make your C++ program, and in the development environment, you can select which core you want to use, whether it's the Cortex or the Hazard 3 RISC-V. Now, the maximum CPU speed is what the Pico 2 is running. It's 150 megahertz. Of course, there will be overclocking opportunities. I don't generally overclock myself. I've never found a compelling reason to go beyond the specs. And as for the RAM, the RP2040 has 264 kilobytes of RAM, and the RP2350 has almost double that with 520 kilobytes. It's a bit of an odd number, but that's what we've got, 520 kilobytes of RAM on here. And this chip is just one variant. I think there are 4 different variants of the RP2350. They come in various sizes and various number of GPIOs. This one, it's the standard Raspberry Pi Pico form factor, so you've got your 26 GPIOs. But if you have a custom project that you need more GPIOs, by all means, you can get the RP2350 in bigger variants that you can mount on your own boards for your own projects. Let's bring Saad back here. Saad, I believe you haven't got your hands on a Raspberry Pi Pico 2 yet.
Yes, not yet. I'm excited about to check if how much fast square waves it generates, because last time I checked with the normal Pico and it went till, I believe, 80 or 90 megahertz. Could be underestimating it. Maybe it was more than that, but yeah, we'll see what Pico 2 can do.
And are you going to do anything exciting with that? Have you done anything with the Raspberry Pi Pico that you think could be useful?
Oh, right now I don't have anything in my mind.
Okay. And other than that, you've been doing some home printing. You mentioned the LoRa project that you're on.
Exactly.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Let's just start with sharing my screen and then. Okay. So this is a LoRaWAN project I've been made. It's basically a node which you can install pretty much anywhere. It's been powered by ESP32C3 and with the Seed Studio E5 LoRa module. As you can see on the top, there's the SCD30 carbon dioxide and temperature humidity sensor. It's carbon dioxide is pretty accurate. I just wanted to check whether I would say there's a big difference between day and night carbon dioxide levels, because I heard that plants exhale carbon dioxide at night. I want to see how much different does it make if it's right next to it. It was no big difference. Of course, you can Google that, but that's my just curiosity to check it myself. But anyways, it can be used with a couple of different sensors. Here you can see it's pretty much the main enclosure. It's built with one complete part by having one lid different. So two parts, the main part and just one lid on the side. Made it this way so that it can be 100% waterproof. Also use some waterproof connectors. So here you can see a USB Type-C waterproof connector on-off switch, and then these are, I believe, JST waterproof connectors, which connect the solar panel with the main board. So this is another angle of it. So a little bit of I would say challenge was that I don't have a really big bed size of my 3D printer. So the challenge was to constrain everything in a small place and also make it rugged. You cannot make everything boxy and squarey all the time, but with 3D printing, you have the, I would say, capability of making different type of styles and designs. So I thought this is the best one. It looks nice if it's out there in the wild, or out there in your farm or in your lawn. You got a couple of them laying around. It's still a nice angle for the solar, getting the sun, and easy to manage as well. So this is what the inside looks like. That's pretty much the electronics housing in the middle. So basically I designed that to make it waterproof, and made the lid a little bit extend a little bit inside, go inside the main enclosure. And then I used some, I would say, glue or rubber epoxy or rubber type of adhesive to make it completely waterproof. And then some heated inserts to really lock that side panel down. So let's go back a little bit. So here, this is the enclosure I made for the roof sensor. And I couldn't find, I would say, Stevenson enclosure specifically for that, or bound it or use it with that sensor. So I had to design this myself as well. So the challenge for this was that I want to make it a little bit of capable with all groove modules. And so I designed this separate component holder along with this enclosure. And I wanted to make the assembly process as easy as possible without any nuts or screws, like the least I can use. So I come up with this. So the lid of this enclosure, you can slide in your zip ties and start piling up from the top the other, I would say, parts like this. And at the end, you can just use another zip tie to lock it up with the sensor, with the entire enclosure. So here you can see the sensor right there. And then this is the final product. So you can see the sensor. I've checked it. It survived to, I would say, rainfalls, heavy rainfall, not a storm, but it survived well. And it's working fine. Here you can see that you can just use cut out end of the zip tie. You can cut it off and use it there. And with this, you don't have to guess estimate the length of, or make some side of inserts to bind all these parts together. You can use this way to, I would say, join your parts together. And yeah, you can join this way, so you can disassemble it easily. Screws work fine, but this is faster and easier. But you can also use epoxy or super glue if you want. Epoxy is more preferable.
That's cool. So it's holding up to the elements. Yes. As in the weather. I have some questions, but first I want to switch to some housekeeping. I want to say hello to Ed Truthseeker, who's looking forward to this. I hope you're enjoying it so far, Edward, from North Carolina in the USA. And also I want to say we're very fortunate to have some great sponsors on these shows. I mean, we've got to pay the bills, right? So we've got PeakTech, and I love PeakTech. If you look at their website, they are a sponsor of our show, and they're a provider of interfaces, tools, and software for CAN communication. And it originated in the automotive industry, but it's also widely used in industrial and medical applications. So for more information, if you want to know more about PeakTech, there's their website. You see the URL at the top, peaktech.de/UK for the English version. Definitely worth checking out. They're on top of the game with CAN buses, and it's not just the hardware, but software APIs, and as the banner says, drivers for Windows and Linux. So big thank you to PeakTech, Peak System, sorry, I said PeakTech, Peak System for sponsoring this show. But it's peaktech.de. That's the URL, peaksystem@peaktech.de. Now, Saad, you've been working on this LoRaWAN. Just have another look at this. And you say it's holding up to the elements. Is this a project that you wanted to do for your own enrichment, or is it actually serving a practical purpose and doing well for you in your home?
Actually, my dad is really fond of plants, so we wanted to know about the soil sensors, soil moisture all across our house. We have a lawn with a lot of plants, so I made this LoRaWAN project just to get because the Wi-Fi is not really good there, so that's the only way you can get a reliable connection is via LoRaWAN. So that serves that purpose, but I'm thinking about adding more slots or more connector cutouts for this one so that more plants can be monitored. So that's one purpose it serves. But as the versatile nature of this design, I can attach pretty much any sensor I want to it. So it's basically two I2C connections at the back of it. I didn't include the back picture, but believe me, there are two connections, and I'm thinking of adding more. Where you can add more sensors which support I2C and also analog, and you can use this system for different types of sensors, not just these but others as well. It would be nice to include make a smaller version of it because it's a little bit bigger, but that's the main idea.
And the plants are thriving in your hot summer?
Yeah, now
Great.
Yeah, basically they are at the side where sun hits them a little bit less, so they don't get burned that quickly, but they're thriving, I would say.
Awesome. Let's have a look at the chat. Chris says hi, and we also going to have a look at the circuit special that we've got from Elektor magazine. Every year at this time, it used to be called Summer Circuits, but as I've pointed out, it's not summer everywhere in the world. The bottom half, it's winter here, although I'm suffering from the heat myself. That is our latest circuit special cover, and you may have seen this from previous shows, but this cover is made up of covers from all the previous Elektor magazines. So if you get the high-res version of this, zoom into it, and you can see all of the covers. Saad, there was a lot of good projects in this circuit special. Which did you like?
Oh, almost each one of them are really nice. There are one which I particularly like is that USB device. I don't remember its name, but basically what it does is that it normally your power bank shuts off after if the load is not up to its requirements. So the author makes a device which you can plug into your power bank and it stays alive. Oh yes, so the name was Stay Alive Power Bank. That was the name of the article. So it keeps your project alive, which is being powered by a power bank.
And yeah, that's something I've needed because I had a project which was my bathroom scale. I don't want to go on too much about that because it's something I always bring up. But yeah, that thing I had running on rechargeable batteries, but the batteries, they just wouldn't charge enough. So eventually I ended up using an external power bank, but same story. The scale used so little power that the battery would just switch off. So I always have to lean down, press the button. So that particular project is great for situations like that. Just looking at the chats, once again, thank you for everyone for joining us from around the world. And please leave your questions and comments. We'd love to hear more from you and your expertise. But before we do that, I want to also tell you about our giveaway. This is perfect summer circuit material or circuit special material. It's the Elektor Funny Bird Kit. So that's it there. And it makes all kinds of sounds from the circuit that you see there. It's been redesigned. It was originally in 1984, but now it's become a classic, and we've got the black circuit board there, and you've got the whole schematic printed on the board. That's a great little kit, and we're giving away some of those. So if you want to enter the competition, there's our giveaway. If we could just put the banner on the screen. There we go, electormagazine.com/Elektor-Lab Talk-giveaway. And that's the Funny Bird kit. And I'll give you the code word in about 20 minutes after we've gone through a few other things here on the show. And just a shout out to Peak System, which was our earlier sponsor. I just want to mention their website, which I had the English version, but let me just bring it up here. If you're interested in CAN buses, and I have a CAN bus to show you, a CAN bus hat for Raspberry Pi, but I'll bring that up later. This is Peak Systems website. A lot of CAN bus stuff going on here. I'm not sure how many of our audience, looking at the comments, do you guys use CAN bus in your projects? I've messed around with it a little bit for my car to try and get diagnostic faults and that sort of thing, but I haven't put a whole lot of effort into, so that will be interesting. And as I said, I've got a CAN bus for Raspberry Pi that I'm looking forward to bringing out. Saad, have you used CAN bus?
Well, it's on my wish list, or the projects I want to do. Basically, I have planned. I worked on that project a little bit, but it's still in the backlog. Didn't really get to focus it on. The main idea is to get all the data from my car and show it on Home Assistant. So the fuel, how much fuel I have in my car, and all that stuff. If there's an error, I would like to see that. When was car start, shut down, or turned off, and all that.
Yeah, that should be fun. I mean, I had a bit of fun with it, as I said, with my car, but very limited use for me because not a whole lot of things in my home are CAN bus. And if I have to go outside to the car, it's going to get less attention from me. Gert is listening. Thank you, Gert, for listening in on the show. Well, if we aren't going to have any more questions at the moment, I am going to show you some box of tricks that I've got. I've got some reviews and some unboxings to do. Wait, we do have a question. Flip asks you, Saad, how is your energy meter going?
It's been working as it should. It's working great, actually. In the last webinar, we showed a little bit of readings on it, and it's been serving its purpose, letting me know what's on, what's off. I'm trying to get all the data to try and train a model which detects which type of load, or detects which type of load it is turned on or off. But yeah, it's too much time consuming, I would say, but it's still there. It's happening.
Okay, well, thanks to you, Flip. And he has a follow-up question. Is there an article coming for this?
I think it's been 3 updates now, and the 4th one is on software. So I think the last update, which you might get in November, December, is a custom firmware for ESP32 energy meter. First, it was based on ESP Home, but now you have your own custom firmware which you can use. It's based on MQTT, so it sends all the data, collects it, and sends via MQTT to Home Assistant or any other platform you want. But that's the main update we will get.
And MQTT, or Mosquito as they call it sometimes, that's very short packets, right? So it's very efficient.
Yes, it's very reliable, very, I would say, low consuming communication protocol for IoT devices, basically used for almost all IoT devices. Well, depends if it supports MQTT or it's using MQTT or not, but most of these IoT devices use it because it's a very lightweight system.
Awesome. I haven't used MQTT. I'm using standard off-the-shelf Wi-Fi products, which I have found to be a little inefficient, and sometimes it can cause a problem on the network. Sometimes they connect, sometimes they don't. So I've been meaning to get more into MQTT, probably before I get more into CAN bus myself. But we both have that on our wish list. UFlip is looking for this one to implement. So yeah, UFlip, I hope you're a subscriber because it's coming up. And as always, Saad writes excellent articles and does great projects. He even has a 3D printer, which I don't. I wouldn't say that's on my list anytime soon because typically, I've got projects, but they don't necessarily need enclosures because they're indoors. But if I ever need anything rugged and to be protected from the elements and waterproof and rainproof and 3D printed, I'm going to look to you, Saad. Okay. Now, for the toys, I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I've received that I need to review and go through. I've shown you the Raspberry Pi Pico 2. I love these little projects and these little modules. Like this is the WaveShare one, and like it's all modular, so that you've got an ultrasonic sensor right there. That's great. It runs on a Raspberry Pi Pico, and I have a whole bunch of other new stuff. Firstly, you can look out for an article later this year celebrating 50 years of Elektor Mag in English. So I've got the USB stick here. It's also available on the Elektor store at elektor.com. And I've had a lot of fun perusing these old articles. I mean, I still have Elektor Mags in print. I bought my first one in 1990, and I still have the first one that I bought. But to keep that much print information in files, this is a lot more convenient. And I will be writing about the celebration of 50 years of Elektor in English. So that's first of my, shall we say, Christmas gifts here. Let's have a look at what else we've got. As I said, I don't like to unbox. Before I unbox, I've been saving this for you guys for our YouTube channel, but let's have a look anyway. What we've got here is a WaveShare thermal camera hat. Okay, let's get that focus in. There we go. Thermal camera hat, also from WaveShare, same as the robot. And it looks like this. It would naturally go on a Raspberry Pi. Focus. Yeah. I think I have to hide my face, yeah, to get the focus. It's got a little lens cap here. And that's going to be interesting because not long ago, if you go to our YouTube channel, Elektor TV, you'll see that I did an unboxing of another thermal camera that plugs into your smartphone, but this one is for Raspberry Pi. Now let's put it in the box, put it back in the box so that we can re-unbox it for a later YouTube video and review. And Saad, you've made good use of thermal cameras in the past, especially when the new Raspberry Pi 5 came out. You did some measurements with thermal camera and did quite a good article on that. Is it something you use often?
No, I typically don't use it often. I mostly stick to not thermal camera measurement. So let's say the thermocouple and all that. But it's a useful tool for comparison and checking where your motherboard heats, or your PCB heats, or the thing you're testing, or anything you're testing. It's pretty good. And speaking of that module, I believe having that stick on a Raspberry Pi and then having the AI capabilities with the AI kit, I think you can make a very interesting project out of it.
Yeah, for sure. I like the fact that it's modular and you can plug it into a Raspberry Pi, just like the CAN bus I'll be showing you shortly. It's like you get all-in-one solutions, and then you get the modular that you can experiment and play with, which I kind of like. The next thing that I've got to show off, hide your face. Nope, it's not focusing. This camera has a product showcase mode, which is supposed to automatically focus on, there we go, what's close up, but sometimes it doesn't pick up that I'm holding a product. That's the Pi Energy Mini. Now, this is a power solution for Raspberry Pi. Works on 4 and 5. It's got a little heat sink, and there's a power input there. You can screw terminal for two wires, and you can put in anything from 6 to 36 volt voltage. So again, if you're out in the field and you're rugged, maybe you've got solar panels and you can't guarantee the voltage, well, it takes in 6 to 36 and it puts out up to 3 amps of output current. So that's pretty cool. Works on a Raspberry Pi 4 or 5. I hope the audience is enjoying this Christmas morning unboxing as much as I am. Speaking of our sponsor with the CAN bus Peak system, this is what I mentioned earlier. It's a CAN bus for Raspberry Pi. Again, still in the box. I haven't used it. Quite a good looking board. And again, screw terminals for your differential, for your CAN bus. While I'm opening this, let's ask the audience, which one do you think we should do first? What would be the most interesting to review? But this is a nice little kit. It's a solar tracking kit for Arduino. Now, it moves on servos. It follows the sun. You can program it in C. It has a little display. We'll show you some of the components. Saad, you've got a solar panel in your project. Let me take it out the bag. And you haven't found a need to have it actually manually moving, following the sun, have you?
Yeah, I don't think it really increases the efficiency significantly. I think it's a 20% difference. 20% is a lot, but as long as it's pointing south at a good angle, then you're pretty much covered. And also, the device you use needs to be optimized in terms of power. So the solar node, the LoRa node, is able to be, I think, perform without any solar usage or recharging capabilities. It can last for about 4 weeks, so an entire month without charging. So I have these two 3.7 volt batteries inside, and everything runs really good. I mean, I'm testing it. I was not able to test an entire month of no solar, but according to my calculations, it's working as it should, and also I believe it. If it happens, it will be able to survive.
Yeah, and Chris is asking if it's from Key Studio. Yes, indeed, it is. I subscribe to Key Studio on TikTok, believe it or not. So whenever I go into TikTok, they've got some new and interesting video about some of their latest products. So that's just the solar panel. You've got the display here. We're all familiar with those. It even comes with a screwdriver so it's a learning kit. It's educational. I'm not sure you need to track the sun, as Saad mentioned. You've got screws for mounting, everything you need right in there. And you've got the microcontroller board, Arduino Uno form factor. And I think more interconnects than you possibly need. Little manual. And what appears to be laser cut wooden frame for it. It could be plastic, yeah. It's probably just a paper cover. Need to peel that off. This feels more plastic than wood. And some more standoffs. That will be fun. Put that aside. Now, more from Key Studio, there are some accessories that I'm going to look at later. Now, this box, I opened it. I had a look inside. And as soon as I've got an 11-year-old boy in the house, as soon as he saw the Lego compatible pieces here, that's it. He has to do the unboxing with me. So Got a USB cable, a whole bunch of accessories, pan, tilt, zoom, PTZ mount, all kinds of extra boards, photosensitive diodes, you know, beepers. So that's going to be fun for the boy, especially. I've already played with these things in the past. I'm an OG Arduino guy, original gangster. Let's have a look at the Quack Python quickly. That's this here. I haven't looked at this much at all. Just taken it out the box briefly. And I'm not sure what I can do with it, but it's got a MIPI connector on the end here. And some connectors on the other side. Yeah, I've got a mirror image. Take a good look at that and imagine what we're going to be able to pull off with this. And it's got USB-C, which is more than we can say for the Raspberry Pi Pico 2. And finally, I have been working on the Beagle Y AI. I've got a review in the pipeline for that, so that's coming out. The Beagle Y AI, we did see some of that at Embedded World in March this year, and we saw it in action. We saw a demonstration. Now I actually have my hands on one. You don't have one yet, Saad?
No, I don't. But it has really good AI capabilities. I think it goes till 4 to 5 tops, right? I believe so. And yeah, if and regular Raspberry Pi does not do that, and it requires that AI kit. So I believe if someone is into machine learning or AI or computer vision, I think this is the board to go for. But the one drawback is it has only 4 GB of RAM. It's not extendable. I don't think they have an 8 GB model, right?
Not that I know of, no. I suppose you have your flash storage, but that's not going to serve as RAM. Yeah, 4 gigabytes. Well, it will serve many applications, I'm sure. Let's have a look at a comment from Chris. Chris is joining us on X. His first kit was a Key Studio one. After that, he started salvaging all kinds of parts from boards. Yeah, I feel you, Chris. I'm a board hoarder myself. Got a box here of stuff that I'm always looking like. You need a solution. You need an Arduino Uno. I can help you there. You need a Raspberry Pi. I can help you. So, and it's not always easy deciding which board to use. I guess it depends on the punch you need. The amount of, for example, I wouldn't use a Raspberry Pi 5 on a bathroom scale project. For that, I use the Arduino Atmega 328P chip, which makes a lot more sense. Speaking of which, Saad, I'm going to bring up this project of yours again. What sort of processing power are you pushing out there?
It's just using a ESP32C3 by Xiao. And okay. It's also, yeah, so nothing serious. It does not need any type of superpowers or any advanced computational or anything like that. Just collecting data, sending about LoRa. I just wanted to keep it as low power as possible, and find out that you can, with some of commands, little small lines of code, and you can really significantly reduce the power consumption. Speaking about that part, the SCD30 sensor, it has an infrared light, or infrared heater, not a light, infrared heater to, I would say, calculate the CO2 at a more accurate level. And when that turns on, it takes about 100 milliamps. And it flashes about 1 second, turns off and turns on. When I was testing it, I didn't notice, I didn't know that you can turn it off. But after scrolling through their library files, I was able to find out that you can really turn that heater element off, and then you can save a lot of power. So that was one of the cool things that I found out about that sensor. And then another power consumption or power optimization I did is on the LoRa E5 module by Studio. There's another command which you can send to an AT command you can send to that module. It also reduces the power consumption. I think it goes till 50 microamps. I think I might be not accurate with the readings here, but it was around that. I can assure you, and I believe that it can be further reduced. If we can use an external power latch with an external RDC, uh, s- reducing the power consumption at idle mode around 50 nanoamps or 60 nanoamps, depending on which external RDC you use in the power latch.
Well, that's cool. And you don't obviously need a lot of processing power for that. And you don't need to track the sun. You know that the solar tracker kit, that is educational, but it actually takes power to move that thing as well. So you're using up some of the solar power that you collect to move the motor on the device. I'm not sure. Do you think that would be a worthy trade-off?
I don't think so. The solar panel on that thing is pretty much small, very small. Right now, you're looking at a 3-watt panel by Studio, and I believe that is powered by servos, and then the battery is not that really big. So
yeah,
it needs to have a really good MQTT tracker, charging module, and a little bit more big solar panel, so it lasts longer, and a bigger battery pack as well.
Yeah, it's not like you're living in the Sahara Desert.
Yeah,
I think you need an extra solar panel just to control the motors that move the solar panel.
I think so.
As promised, I said I'll be back in about 20 minutes with the code word for our giveaway. Remember, we're giving away an Elektor Labs classic, the Funny Bird Kit, which originally was designed by Kurt Dietrich in 1984. And it's 40 years later, and now this is an Elektor classic, and it will give you lots of fun. And you can maybe annoy the rest of your family members by hiding it under the couch and making random bird noises. The code word for this week's giveaway is birdie. That's what we've decided. Birdie, BIRDIE. In fact, I'll put the banner up. There we go. Elektor Lab Talk giveaway, and the code word is birdie. Now, I want to go back to our circuit special. Let me bring that up because I want to talk about my favorite circuit, vocal remover, instant karaoke circuit. Now, I played with stuff like this back in like 1991. What you'll find is that with stereo music, or even in movies, they tend to mix some instruments to the left, some instruments to the right, but the vocals tend to be in the center of the sound field, but you only have 2 channels. So how do they get the voice to the center? Well, if you're wearing headphones, for example, it comes out in the middle of your head. And if you've got 2 speakers, it sounds like the voice is in the middle, although it can't be because the speakers are left and right. But what they do is they obviously mix the same amount of audio into the left channel and into the right channel, and then you get the voice coming out of the middle. Now, from old electronics magazines at the time, I learned that you could cancel the 2 phases out. So instead of having the left and the right speakers connected normally, you have the positive for the left channel and the positive for the right channel, both going into the speaker, and then the negative, the ground, you connect them together, which they are connected together anyway in the amplifier, but you remove them from the amplifier. So you basically just twist the wires together, the 2 black wires. Now you've got 2 channels of audio leaving the amplifier and meeting in the middle somewhere between the speakers, and the center channel cancels it out, and you get a whole different way of listening to your favorite music. Everything in the center removed. Oftentimes it would be the drums as well. Well, this is a way to do that at line levels. So from a left-right headphone out, and from the aux in on the right there to the headphone out on the left there. Yes, I've even used it on headphones. I made a little box, and I probably still got it because I never throw anything away. You would plug the box connector into your headphone output on your amplifier or CD player, remember those, and then plug your headphones in and you could listen normally, or flip a switch and it would take out the center channel. Well, this is a more robust version of that from Raymond Shelton in the Netherlands. That would have been my favorite. I know it's a very simple circuit, but that's what I love about the summer circuits. The circuit special is that, you know, you could put one of these together in an afternoon, never mind a weekend. And then there you have an implementation in situ, if you will. Good old analog electronics. I'm no expert in analog, but I was fascinated by the fact that you could take you could take the voice from a song and magically remove it. It's there, but you get rid of it. So yeah, I like that. Saad, do you do much with audio circuits? I know you're a very digital guy, energy, power, so not much in audio.
Not much at all. I mean, don't listen to music anyway, so why bother?
Yeah, and I suppose it wouldn't make sense to remove vocals from an audiobook or podcast.
Definitely.
So power and energy is your thing. Is that we're looking at a new year coming at you? So I can't believe it's almost the end of August. You've got the energy meter that we spoke about. What are your plans for the next year?
Oh, I don't have specific, I would say, ideas right now, but I'm thinking of some. Might be something interesting to do with the energy meter or something related to that. But mostly my, I would say, go-to is IoT. I like working around with the home automation and IoT projects. And then as you can look at the energy meter, it's pretty much of both. So it's power and energy and as well as IoT.
Yeah, I need to get my IoT ducks in a row. I've got a lot of IoT devices, but they're all over the place. They're on Bluetooth, they're on Wi-Fi, they're on Google, they're on Alexa. For the lights in front of me, I have to use my cell phone. It has a Bluetooth app for these lights, but for the light above me, that's on Wi-Fi, and I have to ask Google to change the colors. In fact, let's give a demonstration, Saad. Choose a color.
I think you have purple. I was going to say purple. Let's try blue.
Well, that is blue, actually. Hey, Google, office lights purple. Slight difference, but you know, I've got a whole lot more light in front of me. IoT, it's a lot of fun to play with, but it, you know, when you are the IT admin of your home, and it becomes very technical. And if you weren't around Saad, I don't know, how would the rest of your family get around all the stuff you've set up and running? Is your dad at least comfortable with the plant system that you've got there?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you set up everything correctly, it's very least maintenance required for anything. So I prefer to set things and forget it. So don't want to tinker around or open it again and modify a thing. When I try to deploy, I think of every aspect which is possible. Sometimes I don't think of a variable which I included in my, I would say, while designing, but most of the time it works fine. And that's how I think it should be done. Otherwise, you're really just wasting time with one project, time and time again.
My ideal is to have a home that doesn't require an instruction manual. A stranger should be able to spend a night in your home without having to be told how to turn the lights on, which, you know, I'm not there, and I'm not even close to there. I've got all these things going on. UFlip says try yellow. Okay, I'll do that. But you know what? Like I said, I've also got these lights in front of me, and they are newer lights, and I have to enable Bluetooth. On my phone. There you go. So I can adjust the brightness, I can adjust the color temperature, I can adjust the colors. But for UFlip, let's turn these off. Okay, now I have no lights in front of me other than the screen. Let's go, hey Google, office light yellow. It doesn't look quite yellow. No, that's not yellow. Hey, Google, office lights yellow. That's not yellow at all. There we go. There's yellow. Thanks for the suggestion, you Flip. Let's turn these front lights back on. Again, this is Bluetooth. I've got Google there. I've got Alexa downstairs. Sorry, if any of you has the A word and I just said the word and it triggered, sorry about that. Nicholas Tremaine said, why not use Home Assistant to give a complete system? Yes, I think that is an excellent idea. I do have my Home Assistant, but I haven't had time to get into the complexities of it. It does a couple of basic things, and this is the hardware, but you don't need to use this hardware. You can run it on a Raspberry Pi. In fact, Saad, on the last time we chatted, you went through some Home Assistant things where you set up the Home Assistant from scratch on a Raspberry Pi.
Yes, and it can also be set up on a whole laptop or any type of old hardware you have, computer, x86, or even a different ARM based as well. But yeah, it has a lot of capability. I mean, with Home Assistant, Brian could give everyone access to Home Assistant, and everyone can turn on a light by just looking at the smartphone, just tapping the on button, because it also has users, and it is a complete software. But it takes a little bit of time to set up everything, make a dashboard for every screen or every control you want to give to anyone. So you have to be really dedicated for doing so. I'm not that dedicated to it, but I try to keep things like simple, as I just want to know the energy variables of my house. Okay, that's all I need. I'm not gonna go anything further, but it's nice to check if you have time. We're really interested in
that's
it.
my answer. That is my answer to Nicholas as well, who said, why not a complete system? Because, like Saad said, I'm not as dedicated, but I should be. There's always new stuff coming in, and I don't tend to get around to just, maybe in my retirement years, I'll just have everything just perfect. But for now, got the Home Assistant green with the USB dongle, which gives it Zigbee and Matter. And yeah, thanks for making that bigger. Now, this is the Home Assistant green. It's a dedicated hardware device. Saad, would you opt for this, or do you prefer to run it on a Raspberry Pi?
I usually prefer to have one thing running on a specific hardware. So if something goes down, you have backup. Kind of like the situation I have right now in my house is that I'm running Pi-hole on let's say an old laptop. I also have another laptop which is running Pi-hole. So if one laptop fails or something happens with the DNS stuff, the other laptops take over. Otherwise, if one laptop goes down, no one can access anything on the internet because the DNS it follows that route. So it's nice to have specific hardware for these type of things, so that if you're upgrading, if you're trying something new, you don't really screw up everything or add a one hardware thing.
Yeah, and I've got a box of boards, as I showed you, and I've got more in the drawer, and I've got everything from Raspberry Pi Original to Raspberry Pi 5, and as you've said, it doesn't need a whole lot of processing power. It's not like you're running a Intel i9 with a 4090 GPU to run your home. How much processing power would you say, if I were to dedicate a Raspberry Pi to these sorts of tasks, would I go with the original Raspberry Pi that I have no use for, or the 3 or the 4 or the 5?
I didn't use the let's try to play it safe here, but I didn't try it on a Raspberry Pi 3, but on a 4, I have installed it on a 4 GB variant. It does not take more than 1.5 GB of RAM. So I think you're going to be happy with 2 GB. Does not require much at all. I think it's going to go easily with the Raspberry Pi 3 as well. 3B.
Yeah, I think, for the most of the tasks that we were talking about today, the 3 would probably work. But I'm asking you, you're the expert, you're the engineer in the house. You have worked with more processing intensive tasks like object detection. Have you implemented any of that in your home, in your IoT, or are you just experimenting?
I didn't implement it in my house right as of now, but I'm thinking of doing it, as in getting all the camera feeds via IP connection, and then try to detect if I can. But the main problem is it's a little bit slow. So when you get a video feed via IP, it's normally a little bit slow, and if you're using four displays or four camera feeds, it might get a little bit slow. So you might need a little bit of a hardware which is accelerated for AI applications. But it's also time consuming to work on such project, because I'm really not an expert on that area at all. It's just like I want to do it, but I really am not aware of how to do it. So there's a lot of Googling around and working and testing.
Well, you don't have to Google that much anymore. We now have ChatGPT, which can probably help you out a lot with the answers to those. I have a
and
friend.
sometimes it's not accurate.
True, but it will send you in the right direction, so you can check those answers. I find it helps me a lot. Like if I want to write a small code module, it won't get it right immediately, but it will at least send me in the direction. Okay, this is how to structure it. This is the way we should do it, especially in languages I'm not too familiar with. For example, I'm very familiar with assembly and C, and I started out in BASIC when I was younger, but Python I'm still, scratching the surface on, and I need help in Python. I go to ChatGPT and it helps out. I was saying I have a friend, and he put a lot more time into his IoT because he has the time. And in his home, he's got Raspberry Pis and Arduinos. The whole house is off the grid, electricity-wise. So he's got solar panels on the roof, huge batteries in the garage, and he's not even connected to the grid. He can be. There is a switch over if need be, but he hasn't found that necessary. And the reason I bring that up is because he's also included cameras with object detection. So instead of getting a beep every time a cat walks past, which is quite annoying, or a car drives by, as in just basic motion detection, rather it can tell you, his Google Assistant will say, there's a human at the door. So it can pick up the object and it will ignore everything until somebody walks up to the door, and then he gets a warning and the camera feed comes up, which is great. Again, something to aspire to for me.
Can be really useful if you have a lot of camera feeds, or you really want to know what's going on around you.
Yeah, if you have full control of the environment, say in your own backyard, then simple motion detection might work for you. But if your camera is facing the street and cars are driving by and that sort of thing, I've got one. I've got a camera that records whenever there's movement, but if I have to go through the feed for the last 24 hours, you're going to get a lot of cars driving past, a lot of people walking by in the distance, rather than intelligent AI to say, hey, someone's actually messing with your car or something like that. Well, look at that. It's just gone 5 p.m. here in South Africa. That's 5 p.m. in Europe, which means we've used up our full hour. So I guess we should wrap this up. And I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us, as always. Remember the giveaway? It's the Elektor Lab Talk giveaway, and the code word is Birdie, as I said. And I'd like to thank our sponsor, Peak System, for helping us with the show and sponsoring our show, and to everyone all around the world, including Saad over in Pakistan. UFlip says thanks for the show, and thank you for joining us. Chris, you as well, joining us on X over there. Thanks for joining us. Thanks once again, Saad, for being there at 8 p.m. in your time zone. And I hope you can go and get some rest now.
Thank you, Ryan.
My pleasure, as always.